In this video, we're going to learn how to present items inside of a list using RecyclerView. So I'm going to create another project from scratch. Let's create an empty activity. Let's call it list example Kotlin, and let's finish. So for us to display items inside of a list, we're gonna first go to the layout. Let me open my project here. And we're gonna change our layout. This initial layout comes with a text view. We want to remove that. And we want to add a recycler view inside of our app. Okay. And to add some constraints here, let's just give it a constraint of 8. And we will also want to give our recycler view an ID. Let's call it recycler view. Okay. So before we even jump into the code to implement this recycler view, we also have to create another layout that's going to be each item inside of our view. So let's just go ahead and create another layout resource file. Let's call it item list. We're gonna make a really simple layout because we're just like using as an example. You could create a very customized advanced layout here, but we just want to like show how the recycle view works. So I'm just gonna put the text view inside of it, and that's pretty much gonna be it. Text view has an ID, making sure it has an ID, and let me see the code for this. So we see that the layout, the main layout, is using the whole screen, and we don't want that. We want just to wrap the text view. So I'm just going to change it to wrap content. If we go back to the design, you see that this should be only the size of the text view now. Okay, with that done, let's continue the implementation now. First of all, we have to create a reference to our recycler view. So var recycler view equals find view by ID. It's going to be type recycler view. And we're going to find by the ID of recycler view as no, oops. Now we're going to notice that we have a few things that we need to set up our recycler view. Recycler view is going to need an adapter that's going to manage each item on that list, and we're going to need a layout manager. So layout manager is pretty much decide what is the flow of the layout. It can be linear, it can be a grid layout, In our case, we just want a linear layout vertical. So linear layout manager. We have to pass the context. Context is this. And we have to pass a orientation, linear layout manager vertical. I'm not sure why Android Studio is complaining about this, but we can check that later. The next step is creating an adapter. As I said, an adapter is going to manage the items inside of RecyclerView. So let's just go ahead and create another file, item adapter. And this item adapter has to extend the RecyclerView adapter. So item adapter extend to RecyclerView.adapter. And inside of the RecyclerView adapter, we're also going to have to pass a view holder that we're going to create in a second. And we can actually just create inside of this right now, inner class. Let's call it view holder. And it has to extend RecyclerView.viewHolder. Okay. So here we can just pass a type of view holder. Okay. And here it's because we have to pass as a parameter the view that's going to be created. So let's just pass a item view. Oops, that's not what I meant. It's just type view. And here we just pass that item view inside of it. Okay, now we can implement all the mandatory functions, the required functions. Yeah, so the first one is on create view holder. That's where we're gonna set the layout. And we also have on bind view holder. That's when we're gonna pass the set up the UI for each item. And this one item count is just to count how many items it's gonna have, that list is gonna have. So first, let's pass our list here as a parameter for this adapter. So let's call it val items. It's gonna be a list of string. And here we can just return items dot size. In the let's just put this in the bottom. So okay, on create view holder, we're gonna set up the layout. So val view equals layout inflator from context, then we pass the context of the view. Here is parent dot context, and we are going to inflate the layout that we just created. So r.layout.item list. And here there are another parameters that we have to pass. We have to pass the parent as a reference and attach to root false. Let me put down here so it's organized. Okay. So here we inflate this view, and now we can return our view holder that we just created, passing the view inside of it. So this is going to create the UI for each item in the RecyclerView. And now here on bind view that's where we're going to set the data. So first, inside of our view holder, let's create a function that we normally call it bind view. Bind view. And let's pass the item string. And here we just can access the view item view dot find view by ID. It's going to be a text view, and then we can pass r.id dot text view. So text view, let's go text view. Here we can set the value of that text view, text equals to the item we are going to be passing. So on bind view now, we can just call holder. That's going to be the holder that we just create, and we can call the function that we just create, and we can use our items array and pass the position. So for each item in our items list, we're going to be passing to the view holder so we can set that in the UI. Now we have that here. We can go back and let's change it to val. We can do our RecyclerView dot adapter equals item adapter that we just created, and we're gonna have to create a list here as an example. So let's just create a simple list of string. Let's create some values. First item, second item, third item, etc. Okay, so now we have this list. We can just pass the list inside of our adapter, and that should give us an example of how RecyclerView work. I'm gonna try to run the app even though I have this message here that's saying something is wrong, but I have no idea why it's saying it's wrong. It shouldn't be wrong. Let's see how it goes. It's building. Okay, so too many. Let's try to just remove this. Maybe I have to pass a false here. Oh yeah, that was it. I just had to pass another parameter asking if the layout was reversed or not. So in this case, not, so false. Okay, if you run now, gonna take a second. We should have our list with 3 items. I'm not okay. What's happening here is because I didn't give like the right constraints. My first item is like behind the toolbar. So to fix that, now we can just give it a top constraint of 50, and that should fix our layout problem. And there we go. So yeah, we have 4 items in a list, and if it was a bigger list, it doesn't matter. That's how you display a list inside of RecyclerView. So you're gonna need a RecyclerView, you're gonna need a layout for each item, and you're gonna need an adapter to display those items in the list. Thank you.